Hello guys, my name is Janne, I'm your designer friend from Finland and this is a quick start guide for the Webflow. I assume that you already have an account and you find your way to the designer. The designer is the place where the magic happens, where you build the actual site. Of course, there is editor, the project settings and all sorts of settings too, but this guide is about editor. And I'm just gonna go through what we have in the designer. Starting from the left, there's plus icon. Here you find the elements and some layouts you can use. Component, this is for you to create your own elements that you want to use multiple times. Then there's navigator. This is a helpful thing. I usually pin the navigator to the left side so it always is visible. Pages, you can navigate yourself to another page. CMS, we're not going to go through CMS features today, but if you want to create a blog or a team member listings or that sort of things, this is the function for you. Then there's logic, memberships, e-commerce, images, and settings, and these two are just extensions. We're not going to go through those either today. Up here are the screen sizes, and you can add screen sizes to the bigger way too. Then here is the publish tab. You always have this webflow.io domain where you can test your site, and then there's the right panel. Styles panel is probably the most important on this side, and then there's settings tab. These are element settings, so whatever element you have chosen, here are the settings for that specific element. Style manager, you can see all your styles. We're going to go through those today too. And then interactions, these are the fancy things, moving things that happen on your website. And what you see in the middle of this page is the canvas. But if you'd like to start with some sort of template, not a blank canvas, you can go to webflow.com/made in Webflow and find some sort of starter template here. Here are some templates, and if you click this clonable sites only, you can see the sites that are, well, clonable. And if you click one of these, here's a button cloning Webflow, so you can see it in your account and start building from that point on. There are also these actual templates for Webflow. These are paid or free. Usually the $79 is the upper end, but today I'm going to use my template. So I have navigation on the left side. If you can see it, it is this line icon here, and on the right side I have the styles panel open. I can click an element. If you don't have any elements, you can click the plus icon and just drag some elements on the canvas. The div block, which I just dragged, is a very familiar or commonly used element, so get used to seeing a lot of div blocks. And you can put elements inside each other, and you can see the structure begins to build on the left side. So in here I have a lot of div blocks inside each other, and now I put a heading inside of this div block. If I'd like to edit the style of this element, I should go to the style panel and create a class for it, or selector. This is actually the same thing as a CSS class. So I could say that this is heading wrapper. It's a good thing to name your classes in a descriptive way so you can understand what is the purpose of the class later on. Then you will see all these styling options. The grid child will not probably be on your screen. It is just because I'm using grid on the parent element in this case, but you will see layout, spacing, size, position, typographic, backgrounds, borders, effects, and so on. You should play around with these. I'm not going to go through all of these, but for example, if I'd like to get a bit more space around the heading that is inside my heading wrapper, I could just click the number on the padding, the upper number, and maybe 20 pixels is good. And here we have some padding. I could do these. I could add some more padding on each side and maybe margin. This means the space outside the element. Maybe I'd like to have some sort of background color. I could pick a color from the color selector, but I already have these pre-selected colors in my styles panel, so I will use those. Here we have a beautiful heading wrapper. The confusing part starts when we use the same class in multiple places. I'm gonna copy this and put it in this div. So we have the same thing, but in 2 places. And now I'm gonna change this background color. And you can see the change applies to all instances of this class. So that's the first principle that you should remember when using these classes. If I'd like to unlink these things, these elements, I could take away this class with backspace. I'm gonna push Ctrl Z to get it back. Or I could duplicate the class when it makes a copy, an original copy, and maybe name this in a different way. Well, that's already blue, but I could take the other wrapper and make it red if I'd like to. So that's a one way. Or I could make a combo class. So I'm gonna take that one away. I'm gonna search for the heading wrapper I used. So here we have the same class, and I could make a combo class. What this does is it overrides the styles that we are gonna change. For example, I could make this blue as the class says, but if I go to edit this heading wrapper without the combo class, and let's say put a bit more margin on it, the change would affect the combo class too, because we haven't overwritten the specific property. I'm gonna clean this a bit. I'm gonna take this heading wrapper away so my layout will be intact. Next up is the breakpoints. So on top of the screen, you can see here are the breakpoints, and if I click, the canvas of course changes. There's a little star in this base breakpoints, and that means that it is the one where you should start your styling. And for example, here I have a grid element, or actually it's a div block that is set to grid. The layout thing is here, clicked on the grid, and we have 2 columns, 1 row. And if we click the tablet screen size, you can see when we go to edit this grid, here are some changes. So there's only 1 column now, and if we didn't change any of these smaller screen sizes, this same change would affect these smaller screen sizes. So the styles are inherited. If I had the larger breakpoints, the changes would affect in the opposite direction, away from the base breakpoints. You can make changes to all of these breakpoints if you want, but you don't have to. This is a easy way to make just one change and let it inherit to the smaller screen sizes, like in this grid example. No need to change these because the 1 column is just fine for these screen sizes. So to recap, what we have discussed this far is the selector or the class, which is important. You should always name your classes, and then the screen sizes and inheriting the class. If you want to make layouts, you should probably get familiar with the flex option of the display property and the grid layout. But those are a bit bigger topics, so I won't go through them. I would recommend that you go to Webflow, start building stuff, keep experimenting. And if you got any value out of this whatsoever, please consider subscribing. It's a small one click for you, but it's a huge deal for me. But that's all for today. Have a nice day. Bye.